lead-ins. I know me, beginning the Gun Guy show without Big Head Todd and the Boom 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 song. I mean, that right there puts us significantly behind the eight ball. But listen, there are a lot of good things to talk about. We're glad you're with us, and I appreciate your patience if you've hung in there and are willing to listen here to the rest of the Gun Guy show. And we'll see how the rest of those things go out. Like I said, we've got some of the very best people working on it, and we'll see how that works out. One thing that is very much in the news on the Second Amendment issues is that starting January 1st this year, the tax stamp, that is the tax you pay to register, and that is through either making or transferring an NFA item, specifically suppressors or short-barreled rifles or short-barreled shotguns, the tax went to zero on each of those items. And that's huge news. It's been huge news since the great big beautiful bill was finalized and passed by Congress and signed into law by President Trump, because one of the provisions of that bill was to take that tax to zero. Now, a lot of us fought very hard for suppressors and short-barreled rifles and short-barreled shotguns, which we call SBRs and SBSs, to be taken out of the NFA altogether, meaning you wouldn't have to register them. They'd be treated just like any other rifle, pistol, or shotgun. And a suppressor, frankly, ought to be treated, in my mind, as an accessory, like an optic or a flash hider. In my mind, a suppressor, which merely lessens the decibels, lessens the report of the sound of a firearm, I don't understand why that's even regulated as a firearm at all. If you look up the definition of firearm in the federal statutes, it talks about a weapon designed to expel a projectile by means of an explosive and a suppressor. It actually says, and a silencer or firearm muffler, being the terminology in vogue back in 1934. So it doesn't meet the traditional definition of firearm, but the federal government in 1934 lumped it in with that. So we wanted those items to be taken out of the NFA altogether. We'd love to see the NFA overturned completely, repealed, gone. There's no real legitimate reason for it. But short of that, what we did accomplish, and this is, I think, to some degree, both a success and a failing of the Republican Congress here last session, is at least we got the tax reduced to zero. So you still have to register your suppressor or your short-barreled rifle or your short-barreled shotgun, but you pay $0 in tax. And that's a big deal. I mean, a typical suppressor that I've bought suppressors that were in the $600 or $700 range. I bought suppressors that were more like $1,200. And so let's round that off or average that out. Let's say about $1,000 for a rifle suppressor, a high-end quality rifle suppressor. Talking about 20% of the cost. Yet you add into that by having to pay for your quote-unquote tax stamp to have a legal and properly registered suppressor, or in addition, again, I've made 2 SBRs just in the last year. And they tend to go together. Why is that? Well, if you're going to run a suppressor on your rifle, let's say a typical AR-15 platform, to not be an SBR, to be legal without a tax stamp or registration under the NFA, a barrel on a rifle needs to be 16 inches or more. What's less than 16 inches, that makes it an SBR, short-barreled rifle. Okay, so if you have a 16-inch barrel on your rifle, and then you add a suppressor, and a rifle suppressor is going to be 6, 7 inches, typically, and some are longer, some are shorter. You're going to add to that. Well, now all of a sudden, you've got a pretty cumbersome, unwieldy firearm, and you run some training, go through some drills, getting in and out of vehicles, going down hallways, going through doorways, going around corners, going up and down stairwells. A big old long rifle with a big old long suppressor on it is not particularly maneuverable, and it's not very convenient for defending yourself, defending your home, defending your family. So what a lot of us have done over the years is we've said, all right, well, I want to register an SBR so that I can run a suppressor. And a lot of times we make and or put together what we call a two-stamper. What's a two-stamper? Well, it's an SBR that's suppressed. It could be a short-barreled shotgun that's suppressed or other forms of two-stampers. But the most common one is a short-barreled rifle with a suppressor on it. Very, very common. If you watch what the military runs, I mean, the M4 in the military, a lot of times you see 14.5-inch barrels with a suppressor. Not all the time, but very often. Very, very common configuration. Make the barrel a little shorter, makes it a little bit less unwieldy, less cumbersome to run that combination. So it's a big deal that now both registrations of SBRs and registrations and transfers of suppressors, the tax has now gone to zero. That's the good news. It's not so good news that we weren't taken out of the NFA altogether, but what we also have seen, and this was completely predictable, in fact, predicted by me and many others, that the eForm system that the ATF runs so that you can register your suppressor or you can get a registration so as to transfer your suppressor or build your short-barreled rifle or whatever it might be, the eForm system has basically crashed over the last 48 hours or so. And what do I mean by that? And what am I talking about? If you're not familiar with this process, traditionally, and I'll tell you what, this is definitely moving to all eForms, that is electronically filed applications to either make or register an NFA item. It is moving to all electronic. ATF will still accept paper filings as of today, but I'm telling you, you heard it here first. In another couple of years, you won't even be able to make paper filings, I predict. Give it 5 years on the outside. It's all going to be eForms. So what's eForms? Well, you create an account with ATF, and you can electronically file your Form 1, which is to make an NFA item, or your Form 4, which is to transfer an NFA item. Well, a lot of folks who are excited about a zero tax waited until what? 12:01 a.m. on January 1 to submit their Form 1 to build an SBR or if their Form 4 to transfer a suppressor. And what do you suppose the system did? I saw numbers, and this was released by NSSF, that's the National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is the firearm industry trade group. And they're working closely with ATF. And I saw a number that said on January 1st, where ATF typically receives about 1,500, maybe 2,500 Form 1s or Form 4s or other applications to register NFA items in a day. They typically get in that 1,500, 2,500 range. You know how many they got on January 1? 150,000. And listen, they shut the system down, as I reported a couple of weeks ago. They shut the system down, the whole eForm system, so as to prepare for the onslaught they knew they were going to see on January 1. They needed to change the fee schedule to reflect the zero tax. They needed to make sure they were ready for a large volume of filings. They didn't anticipate the volume they got. And it crashed the system to a large degree. A lot of FFLs I talked to, that is Federal Firearms Licensee, gun stores. Got a lot of buddies out there. I put a Facebook post out there yesterday. Said, hey, any of my friends tried to e-file a Form 1 or a Form 4 to register their NFA item here in the last couple of days. And everybody that responded said, yeah, it was basically a disaster. Now, a day later, 24 hours later, what am I hearing? It's getting better. My view is, and listen, I've got another SBR I want to try to register. I'm going to wait a couple, 3 weeks. I'm going to let for the real surge to pass a bit, and I'm going to let ATF working out the bugs in their system, just kind of like we're doing here at WIBC. And hopefully that all gets better. Now, what will wait times be? Listen, I bought a couple of suppressors in the last couple of years, and I had a suppressor approved in 41 hours. Had a Form 1 to build an SBR approved in 22 hours. Now, that's before the fees went to zero. So we'll see how that goes. But my advice to you, if you're thinking about filing, buy a suppressor. And listen, I've said it many times here on the Gun Guy Show. You shoot suppressed, you get addicted really fast. It lessens recoil, obviously significantly reduces the report of the firearm, not as much as you see in the Hollywood movies. Nothing ever sounds like like it does in the James Bond movie. But it'll take 160 decibel report of a firearm or reduce it to about 130. That's still loud. That's the sound of a chainsaw running for a typical rifle shot. Now, you go 22, subsonic, meaning the bullet doesn't break the sound barrier. All right, okay, you're getting pretty damn quiet. But for a typical rifle shot like 5.56, a lot of us are shooting, it just makes it manageable. And outdoors, you may even get it to a level you don't need hearing protection. Big deal. And the more you do that, the more you're addicted to it. My buddies who hunt with suppressors, totally addicted. You're not going to necessarily disturb the hunt of the person on the next piece of property. Not going to necessarily scare away other animals that may be in the proximity of where you're hunting if you take that shot. It's very, very addicting. So more and more people are going to be buying them. I think eventually the cost will come down. I think you'll see more and more manufacturers entering the market. And I think it's all going to be a very, very good thing for gun owners in the long term. In the meantime, we got to get through the technological glitches, not only at ATF, but hopefully we do here, right here at WIBC as well. I'll tell you what, let's take a break, and we come back on Shift Gears. There are a couple of cases that are getting a lot of attention. I've gotten a lot of contacts through social media, through my websites. A lot of people want to talk about a couple of cases where people are being prosecuted, and a lot of gun owners or people in general, members of the public, are a little upset that a couple of people are being prosecuted for felonies when it may appear to a lot of folks at first blush that they did something that should be, or in fact will be borne out to be, completely legal. We'll get into those issues when we come back and take your calls. I think the phone lines are working. Producer Gavin, phone line's going to work, buddy? Gavin's giving me a thumbs up. So give us a call. Join the discussion. 317-239-9393. That's 239-9393. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law, and our next one is coming up. You got a little time to schedule and rearrange your calendar if you need to. It's coming up on March 7th. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at Indy Arms Company. It's conveniently located at 2550 East 55th Street on the northeast side of Indianapolis. It's got a great, beautiful range and a nice, big, comfortable classroom. We can fit quite a few folks in there, and we always have a good crowd for Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. That's 5 hours of the most important legal information that you need as an Indiana gun owner, including a detailed discussion of crimes like pointing a firearm or intimidation with a deadly weapon, or criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon. We're going to talk about people being prosecuted for some of those issues, some of those crimes right here on the show tonight. How can you avoid that? As well as a detailed discussion of the law of self-defense. When are you justified in drawing your gun, pointing your gun, and certainly in using your gun, which is always considered the use of deadly force? Those are the kind of things we talk about and a whole lot more, and get into a lot of discussion, hypotheticals, what ifs, and take your questions for 5 hours of Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. Next one's coming up again at March 7th at Indie Arms is $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. You can sign up right online. It's tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1, Indianapolis.
And hey, welcome back. I'll tell you what, producer Gavin is on it. He's got us some bumper music going there. And I'll tell you what, in all seriousness, you got to see the beehive of activity here. Some really talented people trying to get the glitches worked out here in the new studio. And man, my heart and my thanks go out to them because they're working hard. It's a tough environment to be in. You're in a new building, all new technology, and it's not an easy process. And you could see, if you could see how hard they're working, then you would I think be appreciative as well. And listen, I hope that that folks are having the patience to stick with us because we're going to broadcast the whole Gun Guy show. Maybe a little ragged around the edges when it comes to the news and intros and other ads and whatnot. But hey, you're going to get a full Gun Guy show throughout 5 to 7 p.m. here on 93 WIBC. So a case that's gotten a lot of attention, and I bet I've had, easily 100 people send me the video from this because there's security video, maybe a Ring doorbell is what it looks like. And if you want to see this, you can go to my Twitter or X, go to @GuyRelford on Twitter or X. May have to scroll down a little bit. I've posted a couple of things since then. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see this because I reposted it from someone else's Twitter feed. But it's what appears to be about as obvious a self-defense, in fact, a Castle Doctrine self-defense shooting as you can possibly imagine. And what it is, this is in Muncie. And there are a couple of guys who show up on the porch of a house, and it appears from the video, you tell me if you differ, again, go to my X or Twitter feed, give me a follow while you're on there, by the way, and you watch the video, but one of them clearly has a gun. It appears to me they both do. One of them actually fires his gun as he's running away later on. He's the guy here. I'll give you a little foreshadowing here. He's the guy who didn't die, which is the guy who's running away, who's one of the bad guys breaking into someone else's home, who clearly has a gun because he shoots it sort of over his shoulder as he's running away. Blindly, by the way, never a wise move. But these two guys walk up onto this porch. The guy in front starts kicking the door, kicks the door in, goes through the door into the house, at which point you hear several gunshots. And listen, what does the Castle Doctrine say? You've heard me talk about this many, many times here on the Gun Guy Show. Castle Doctrine says that you can use reasonable force, including deadly force, to either prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into your home, your dwelling. So here, a guy's kicking your door in with a gun in his hand, by all appearances, kicks your door in, comes into your house. Can you shoot him? Yes, you can. In fact, you can prevent an unlawful entry into your home. Someone's trying to get in. You have a reasonable belief that someone's trying to get into your house. They haven't even entered your home yet. Can you prevent that unlawful entry with deadly force? The statute, you want to look it up, 35-41-3-2. Just Google it. It'll come right up. 35-41-3-2. You can prevent an unlawful entry. You can terminate an unlawful entry into your home. And that's exactly what happens. And he goes through the door, homeowner shoots, bad guy dies, and what happens? Homeowner gets charged. Well, hold on. There's a lot of outrage. A lot of people are upset. A lot of people sending me the video saying, what the hell? How can this possibly happen? This is in Muncie, which is Decatur County. Prosecutor up there files charges against the homeowner. How can that be? What's the possible explanation? Should people or should people not be outraged about this? Is the guy going to jail, the homeowner? Well, that's what we'll talk about. We come back right now. We're taking a break. The IT folks, producer Gavin, and other technical experts around here are going to try to get us up and running a little bit more like normal. So we're going to take a break here at the bottom of the hour. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Sold out. That's right. Hammer and Nigel Show charity bowling event. Red, white, and gold. Presented by Jack Daniels has sold out. So if you did not get tickets, we still have a chance for you to go. Go to the contest page at WIBC.com. Register to win 2 tickets to our charity bowling event Friday, January 16th at Woodland Bowl.
Hammer and Nigel. Weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Hammer and Nigel here for Window Nation. I have Window Nation windows installed in my house. The cold air has stopped coming through. The warm air has stopped exiting the house because of my grade A Window Nation windows. Definitely check out their sale, windownation.com. Buy 4 windows, get 4 free.
Window Nation, the best in the business. But don't just take my word for it. Check out their A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Check out their over 45,000 5-star reviews. Now, that's a big deal because nobody ever leaves 5-star reviews, but Window Nation has over 45,000 of them. Take advantage of this deal right now. Window Nation's buy 4, get 4 windows for free sale. It's going on right now. Schedule your fast and free, that's the key word, free estimate at windownation.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing.
I don't have any cravings.
You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Stop smoking with hypnosis. Only $59.99 guaranteed or your money back. Stop smoking with hypnosis guaranteed with no irritability and no cravings. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. In addition, use hypnosis to lose all the weight and destroy unwanted cravings. Hypnosis programs are Thursday, January 29th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss hypnosis at 5:30, stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Or Saturday, January 31st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss hypnosis 11 a.m., stop smoking hypnosis at 2 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Experience Trump 1 year later with Tony Katz on January 24th at 6 p.m. Enjoy thought-provoking discussion, tasty hors d'oeuvres, and a chance to mingle with others. Thanks to our sponsor, PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse. More info at WIBC.com.
My name is Jamie Bowles, and I was diagnosed with non-small cell lung cancer in December of 2018. Nobody would even know looking at me that I have stage 4 lung cancer, and I'm grateful for biomarker testing for that. When I was sitting down with my oncologist, there was already state-of-the-art medication available that I was going to be put on right then and there. Ask your doctor how comprehensive biomarker testing before treatment may help you decide on the best treatment. Visit NoOneMissed.org to learn more.
A public service message from Longevity Foundation.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Kids across America are going to school hungry every day. No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIPC.
Hey, how about that, man? We had bumper music. We had the re-intro. Producer Gavin, you're a rock star, brother. Great job. Your microphone doesn't work. But hey,
I tried my hardest. I got it. Of all the things to mess up,
we can't set our expectations too high here. Hey, listen. Thanks as always to the folks much smarter than me behind the scenes who are working really hard to make things work here, despite all the technical challenges that anyone is going to face when you move not only just one radio station, but multiple radio stations into a whole new building. That's a big deal. It was pretty astronomical, in fact. And listen, they're working through it as best they can. And they have my unadulterated gratitude. But let's go back to this case in Muncie. So you're sitting in your home. You're sitting in your living room. Two guys walk up onto your front porch, start kicking on your front door. And by all appearances, at least one of them, to me, they both have guns. Guns in their hand, kicking your door in. Is there a more perfect example, and is there a more perfect justification for the use of deadly force under the Castle Doctrine than that? No, that's pretty much the quintessential case. So the person in the home, and by the way, the guy who was kicking on the door, who went in the home first after having kicked the door in, 28-year-old Marcus Brown, according to the Fox 59 report that I'm reading as we speak. Well, the guy in the house is 33-year-old Danny Songer. Mr. Songer is the one who shot the home intruder and killed him, then called 911. Police respond, and after an investigation at the scene, they arrest Danny Songer. And this is when people got outraged. This is when people started sending me the video, and they're very upset and saying, how can this be? Well, what's interesting is that Mr. Songer is not being prosecuted. He's not charged with a crime for the specific act of shooting the guy who just kicked his door in, Marcus Brown. He's not being even prosecuted for killing Marcus Brown, who is now deceased. Well, then you think, well, hold on. If the kicking of one's door, of one's home, justifies the use of deadly force, then how can it be that Danny Songer is being prosecuted for anything at all? Well, what he's being prosecuted for is unlawful carrying of a handgun by a prohibited possessor. It's unlawful carrying of a handgun. And what he did, what he told police is, he said, well, I'm not able to possess a gun. And I looked briefly at Mr. Songer's record on the judicial system database that I have access to, and yeah, he's got a few convictions, including some felony convictions. And in fact, a couple of pending serious cases as well. So Mr. Songer does not appear to be anyone who's a Boy Scout by any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, has gotten himself into some serious trouble in the past and has a couple of very serious pending cases involving violence. And in that context, especially with a felony conviction, you cannot possess a firearm. So is it possessing a firearm if someone kicks your door in and you just picked a gun up? And again, he told the police it was not his gun, it was a girlfriend's gun. Picks the gun up, shoots the bad guy. How can he still get prosecuted? He's not prosecuting for killing the bad guy. He's not being charged for killing the bad guy. That's what people really need to understand, a distinction. And this got overlooked dramatically. About every post I saw with people expressing outrage over Mr. Songer being charged with a crime completely missed the point that he wasn't being prosecuted. He's not being charged for killing the bad guy. And this raises an interesting legal issue, and it's actually a legal issue that I talk about in every single one of my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class that you just heard me pitching during the break. I always address this, which is certain people are prohibited from possessing a gun. One of the categories of people prohibited from possessing a gun are people with prior felony convictions. In fact, you possess a gun after you have a felony conviction, you're potentially looking at 10 years in federal prison. In addition, when Indiana passed the constitutional carry law, actually created a new crime. We did away with the General Assembly did away with the crime of carrying a handgun without a license. That crime doesn't exist anymore. But there's a new crime. That's called carrying a handgun unlawfully, or unlawful carrying of a handgun, is how it's written in the statute. So that if you're a prohibited possessor, and by the way, if you have any criticism of the fact that this provision is in the law, let me tell you, there's no way constitutional carry would have ever passed, or permitless carry would have ever passed in the Indiana General Assembly if this part wasn't included. Because why? What was the biggest challenge we had? What was the biggest argument against constitutional carry when we were fighting for that in the General Assembly? It was, well, now anyone can carry a gun. Felons can carry a gun. Domestic abusers can carry a gun. People under domestic violence orders of protection can carry a gun. Crazy people, dangerously crazy people can carry guns under constitutional carry. And we kept saying, no, this doesn't change who can lawfully possess a gun. You can only carry a handgun without a license under constitutional carry if you're not legally prohibited already from possessing a firearm. So since there is no license requirement, and by the way, without that, if felons could carry a gun under constitutional carry, or domestic batterers, or any number of the other categories of prohibited possessors, no way in hell. Wouldn't have gotten a vote in the General Assembly. So to get it passed, that was absolutely mandatorily part of the law. And so it is. So since a permit is no longer, or a license, to use the term that actually applies here in Indiana, it is a license to carry a handgun. Since a license was no longer required to carry a handgun if you can lawfully possess a firearm under state and federal law, the crime of carrying a handgun without a license disappeared, was repealed, went away. But there's a new law that was created as part of the constitutional carry statute that went into effect in 2022, and that is unlawful carrying of a handgun. And that is, if you're prohibited from possessing a firearm and you're caught in possession of a handgun, then you can be prosecuted for that. That is a Class A misdemeanor most of the time, but it can be enhanced to a level 5 felony. Now, there are 6 levels of felonies. Level 6 is the least severe, and then there's all the way up to level 1, and then murder at the top of that. So a level 5 felony is significant, in that you can do a number of years in jail with a level 5 felony. It is the second one up in the list of felonies. It is a level 5 felony to unlawfully carrying a handgun if you have a felony conviction within the previous 15 years, or you're within 500 feet of a school, or you have a prior conviction for unlawfully carrying a handgun or carrying a handgun without a license under the prior law. So Mr. Songer in Muncie gets charged with the felony version of carrying a handgun without a license. That is unlawful carrying. I totally misspoke on that. Not carrying a handgun without a license, unlawful carrying of a handgun, because he has apparently, for the brief review that I conducted, more than one felony conviction in the past, which means he can't carry a handgun. What he's not being convicted of, or prosecuted for, what he's not being prosecuted for at all is the shooting of Marcus Brown, who walked in the door. Now, it's pretty easy to mesh those two things together and say, hold on, he needed to pick up the gun and possess it, quote unquote, or carry it momentarily in order to shoot the bad guy. Yes, he did. But you don't lose your justification for the use of deadly force or the use of any other level of force because you're a prohibited possessor. At the same time, and here's the distinction people need to be able to get their heads around, you can still be prosecuted for unlawfully possessing the gun. What's the difference? Huge difference. Because if you lost the justification for the use of deadly force, then in this case, Mr. Songer could be prosecuted for murder or manslaughter. There you're talking about much more significant crimes with much more time in prison. He's not being prosecuted for murder because he didn't lose the justification for shooting the bad guy who just kicked his door in. But because he possessed a firearm in the process, he's being prosecuted for unlawful carrying of a handgun as a level 5 felony because he has previous felony convictions. That's how that hashes out. Now, he's also being prosecuted for a level 6 felony, which is obstruction of justice. Why is that? Well, according to the probable cause affidavit filed in that case, there was a large box with a bunch of packaged material in it that Mr. Songer gave to his girlfriend and told her to go out and lock it in the truck outside before the police arrived. It turned out there were drugs, reportedly marijuana. Now, should people get too excited about somebody dealing marijuana? Well, it's legal in a lot of states. It's not yet in Indiana. Is dealing marijuana still a crime? Yes. But apparently, according to the police anyway, and the prosecutor's office, there were conversations between Songer and his girlfriend about hiding the drugs and telling the cops a slightly different version of what happened than what really happened. And when you induce a witness to lie to police, that's obstruction of justice. When you change the crime scene, that's obstruction of justice. The age-old ridiculous, and I've talked about this more than once here on the Gun Guy Show, the stupid, ridiculous advice that you see out on the internet, or you may hear in a gun shop here or there, about, well, if you ever shoot somebody on your front porch, drag them inside. How many times have you heard that? It is unbelievably stupid and ridiculous and will likely get you prosecuted, A, because the forensics guys, the CSI guys are going to absolutely figure out that you drug a body across the threshold of your door into your living room or entry or wherever you drug it to. That's number one. Number two, it's a crime. It's a level 6 felony to change the crime scene. It's obstruction of justice. That's exactly what Mr. Songer is being prosecuted for in this context. But what people really need to understand is that he's not being prosecuted for shooting the bad guy. Now, what we do have in Indiana is something called the necessity defense. And that's where it starts getting really interesting. Will Mr. Songer have a viable claim at trial that he's not guilty of possessing the gun unlawfully, even though he has prior felony convictions? Because it was necessary for him to do so. Is that really a defense under Indiana law? And how does that work? That's what we'll go into when we come back. And we will take your calls. I think the phone lines will work. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. You have questions or comments about this case or anything else you want to bring up here in the 2A context, give us a call, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
You know exactly why you need to remodel that kitchen of yours. The space, it's outdated. You can't move around like you used to. It doesn't work like it needs to. You want to entertain and you want to improve your quality of life. This can happen, just not with the kitchen you have. You need to call Booher Remodeling, B-O-O-H-E-R, BooherRemodeling.com. They can take that old kitchen that's deteriorating and broken down and turn it into something that works for you and your family. Their 5-step design process from start to finish, the consultation, the preliminary design, the design development, getting all the documents together, and then getting it done. The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. Booher Remodeling will guide you through the entire process, starting with the free initial consultation, and they stand behind their work with a 2-year workmanship guarantee. Create that new kitchen. Design experts can use an existing layout or begin completely from scratch. Talk to Booher Remodeling today. B-O-O-H-E-R, BooherRemodeling.com. That's BooherRemodeling.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. You know, if you have something on your record that prohibits you from possessing a firearm, a lot of those convictions or other issues on your record we can resolve through expungements or petitions to restore rights. Depending on what's on your record, and it varies tremendously. Some crimes cannot be expunged, but an awful lot of them can. And we restore the rights of a lot of people across Indiana. We've been doing that for a long time. If that's an issue for you, someone in your family, a loved one, or a friend, contact us through the website. It's relfordlaw.com, and we'll see if we can perhaps give you some relief through the restoration of your right to possess a firearm. That's relfordlaw.com.
Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband, and he lost weight, and his cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend lost 20 pounds her first 2 months.
What are you waiting for? Lose the weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis, guaranteed only $59.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late night eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Hypnosis Thursday, January 29th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. And Saturday, January 31st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss hypnosis 11 a.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Fox News, I'm Sue Guzman. President Trump signing an executive order to block states from regulating artificial intelligence and create a single set of rules at the federal level.
We want to have one central source of approval, and we have, I think, great Republican support. I think we probably have Democrat support, too, because it's common sense.
He also wants to prevent AI from having a political bias. Treasury Department announcing new sanctions on allies. Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Fox's Peter Ducey.
New U.S. sanctions have been levied against 3 of Maduro's nephews, 2 of whom are convicted narco traffickers. As the White House ramps up pressure on Venezuela, the president also wants a piece of seized, sanctioned oil from the vessel taken by the Coast Guard this week.
White House says it'll follow a legal process to take possession of the tanker's oil. America's listening to Fox News.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
After I got out of the Marine Corps, coming back home, it was just a mental breakdown for me. I was on the verge of giving up. That chapter, that season in my life was over. Now what? Who was I? That's what I kept asking myself. The pressure to have it all together, to heal, to quiet down the monsters inside, it was too much. I lost it. I had heard about the Wounded Warrior Project. I had seen the logo and that visual of a warrior carrying another warrior. The programs that the Wounded Warrior Project offers, it's not just the veteran themselves, it's their whole family. It brings it all together. We have scars that we carry, and just because the scars are there doesn't mean that we're any less than what we were. Right now, I'm the best version that I ever have been of myself. I can embrace the brokenness.
You wouldn't go into battle alone. You don't have to fight this alone. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/notalone.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIPC.
Hey, and welcome back, and thanks again to our technical folks. Been really working hard here to get things up and running. I think we're pretty much back to normal, however you want to define normal. But before we took that break, I was mentioning that Indiana has what's called a necessity defense. And you know what? I don't know that I've ever brought this up here on the show. I've brought it up in the courtroom, certainly. But the necessity defense says here in Indiana that you can justify illegal conduct if it was the only reasonable alternative available to prevent a greater harm. And it's rooted in the principle that individuals shouldn't be punished for actions taken to avoid a greater evil, that's one way to put it, when there are no legal alternatives available. So if someone is chasing you on the highway and shooting at you, and you then run 100 miles an hour trying to get away from them, is that illegal? Yes. Can that be prosecuted for reckless driving? Yes. But if you then say, hold on, if I didn't do that, the people who were chasing me would have shot me and killed me. That's a greater evil. That's a greater harm. It was necessary for me to engage in illegal conduct. And how good of a necessity defense did Mr. Songer have to say some guys just kicked my door in with guns in their hand under the necessity defense I needed to protect my home, my family, including my girlfriend? That's pretty solid. I'll tell you what, we're coming up here on the top of the hour. It is time to take a break. Give us a call. Join the discussion, 317-239-9393. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hey guys, it's Rob for Wheat Grow Hair Indy. You know, champions just don't show up. They pick the right team to get the best results. And when it comes to restoring your hair, We Grow Hair Indy is that team. You know, 5 years ago, I made the choice to head over to We Grow Hair Indy. And every time I look in the mirror, I'm so glad I did. You know, guys at the top of their game, radio personalities, coaches, and well-known athletes have all trusted We Grow Hair Indy to restore their hair. Why? Because their results are permanent,
2 minute
natural,
stations,
and speak for themselves. Here's what you do. You call today, 317-522-2995. 317-522-2995. Schedule a totally free, no-hassle, no-obligation consultation. Darren and the gang, the fine folks at We Grow Hair Indy, will take a look at what's going on top of your head and make some suggestions on how you can get your hair and your confidence back. Then it's up to you. In the meantime, see some other folks who have made the choice to get their confidence back by heading over to WeGrowHairIndy.com. 317-522-2995, 317-522-2995.
Are you a business owner or self-employed? Do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more? Pay close attention. Do not ignore this message. The IRS has unmatched power. They can freeze your bank account, garnish your paycheck, seize your assets, and even shut down your business. If you've received a notice or think one is coming, the clock is already ticking. Every day you wait, penalties grow and the problem gets worse. Call Federated Tax today. We'll connect you with an experienced tax professional who will negotiate directly with the IRS on your behalf. You may qualify for IRS hardship programs like the Fresh Start Initiative or many other programs that can stop garnishments, stop bank account seizures, reduce or even eliminate penalties, and lower your settlement amount. The IRS won't wait, and neither should you. Call Federated Tax today, 800-370-1384. The call and consultation are free. That's 800-370-1384. 800-370-1384.
You still thinking job change in the new year? Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy. IT? Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI. That's what I did. Really? How? Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up. Sweet. Our
From the Duke and Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, this is 93 WIBC HD1 HD2, Indianapolis.
Nicolas Maduro is in New York. I'm Jane Fergus, Fox News. The U.S. captured Venezuela's president in an overnight raid. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
By air, land, and sea, U.S. forces took out military targets in Venezuela overnight.
This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do.
General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, says the operation that included a raid of the home of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife took months of intelligence work.
To find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets.
Maduro and his wife are facing multi-count indictments accused of narco-terrorism conspiracy. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The 2022 Uvalde, Texas school shooting will be back in the headlines Monday when one of the responding officers goes on trial over how the response was handled. Here's Fox's Roger Stern.
The victims' families have been trying to hold police accountable for not advancing on the shooter as soon as officers arrived on the scene. Now, former Uvalde Schools police officer Adrian Gonzalez will enter a courtroom to face charges of child abandonment and endangerment. His attorney says the officer was busy helping students escape the building. It took 77 minutes for officers to breach the classroom and kill the gunman. By that time, he had murdered 19 students and 2 teachers. Only 2 of the 376 responding officers have been charged. Roger Stern, Fox News.
Officials say a Washington, D.C. police sergeant was arrested after a road rage incident. Kayla Cruz allegedly brandishing a firearm. America's listening to Fox News.
Hello, everyone. This is Ainsley Earhart. Thank you for joining me for the 52-episode podcast series, The Life of Jesus.
Neil McDonough portrays Jesus. Stacey Keach, Sean Astin, Michael York, and Kristen Bell provide the voices for some of Jesus' notable followers. A listening experience that will provide hope, comfort, and understanding of the greatest story ever told, The Life of Jesus.
Make sure to spread the word.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
This is Jason Chaffetz from the Jason in the House podcast. Join me every Monday to dive deeper into the latest political headlines and chat with remarkable guests to hear their take on American life, politics, and entertainment. And don't forget, there's always somebody doing something stupid somewhere.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcast.com
or wherever you download podcasts.
Must listen to podcasts from
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
The second homicide in Indy. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. 2 people killed and 2 others injured in a shooting Saturday morning on the east side of Indy. IMPD responded to the scene and found 4 people with gunshot wounds. 2 of the victims were found inside a stolen vehicle. The other 2 were outside of it. The search continues for 16-year-old Robert R.J. Williams. In the latest update from IMPD, they say R.J. likely fell into the White River in an area of Broad Ripple. The case has transitioned to a recovery mission with detectives getting help from DNR.
Anytime someone goes into any kind of, state waterway, that becomes Indy
Indiana conservation officers, Department of Natural Resources, it becomes our jurisdiction.
Lieutenant Angela Goldman with Indiana DNR says they're hoping to give the family some closure and find RJ. A bill authored by Republican State Senator Gary Byrne would make wearing a mask at a public assembly a Class C misdemeanor. That's if the person is wearing it with the intent of concealing their identity. If passed, the bill would go into effect on July 1st. And coaching changes are coming on the defensive side of the ball at Notre Dame. Len Clark reports.
The Irish are moving defensive line coach Al Washington into the linebackers room. Washington replaces Max Bulla, who departed for Michigan State. To fill the defensive line coach vacancy, Notre Dame is set to hire Charlie Partridge from the Indianapolis Colts. Partridge previously worked alongside Notre Dame defensive coordinator Chris Ash at Wisconsin, Arkansas, and Drake, bringing familiarity and experience to the Irish defensive front. Len Clark, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Meanwhile, Indiana is gearing up for the Peach Bowl matchup with Oregon on Friday. That game being played in Atlanta. The Hoosiers have opened up as 4.5-point favorites. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level on the go and on WIBC.com. Now your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Winds remain light through this weekend, and that will continue into Sunday. Sunday starting off mostly sunny, turning partly cloudy. Highs in the mid-30s. Big warm-up on the way. Multiple days are expected to be in the 50s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS. Ethos.com/Mike.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, guaranteed or your money back. Only $59.99. Destroy unwanted cravings, late night eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Also destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, or weight gain, or your money back. Hypnosis January 29th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss at 5:30 p.m., stop smoking at 8. And January 31st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m., stop smoking at 2. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 here, the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. I think we got our technical glitches mostly resolved. Reminds me, true story. One time I was in the airport in Detroit, and I was getting ready to get on an airplane. I was on one of these little commuter flights. In fact, it might have even been one of these planes was like a high-wing turboprop. It wasn't even necessarily a jet airplane. This goes back a little ways. And I remember they kept delaying the flight, saying they have a mechanical problem, and they delayed an hour, and they said, we still haven't quite resolved our issues. Delayed it another hour, and after about the third delay, they came on and they said, well, we're going to go ahead and board flight so-and-so. I think I was going to Saginaw, Michigan, as I recall. So we're going to go ahead and board this flight because, and I quote, we think we have most of the major problems fixed. And I remember thinking, I've got a real problem with 2 of the words there. We think we have 3 words I have a problem with. We think we have most of the major problem. Oh, wait a minute. Does that mean you're not sure? And all the major problems aren't fixed, just most. And what about the minor problems? I mean, it's a damn airplane. How about fix all the problems? So in that context, I think we have most of the major problems fixed here at WIBC for the remainder of the show at any rate. And seriously, thanks so much to the technical folks here on the weekend, beyond their normal work hours, trying to get us on the air and get things working. So I do apologize. Listen, I know what it's like. I listen to WIBC all the time. I've heard the glitches, the times that shows have gone off the air, or you just get a bunch of silence in the middle of the news, and no one's missing those things. Believe me, there are a lot of eyes on that or ears on that, and people are working hard to get those things resolved. And thank you, as a listening audience, thank you for your patience. You're hanging in there. We don't want to lose anybody. We're going to get these things resolved. There are some definitely growing pains moving into the new building. And we really do appreciate your patience and your loyalty in sticking with us here as loyal listeners of WIBC and the other Radio 1 stations as well. So I've been talking about this case, and apparently my good friend Jerry texted me, and he said that I had mentioned this case from Muncie. He said I mentioned that it was in Decatur County, and I don't know. Sometimes I say things here on the radio that I swear I would deny. I will go and say, no, I didn't say. Of course, I didn't say that. Muncie's in Delaware County, not Decatur County. But apparently, I said exactly the wrong thing. It is Delaware County that obviously Muncie is in. And I've been talking about this. And listen, if you have questions or comments, a lot of people feel strongly about this. And we have a couple people on the phone, so we'll go to the phone lines here in just a bit. But if you feel strongly about this, please keep in mind what this case does not mean. It does not mean that because you're a prohibited possessor, you lose your ability to defend yourself. And the example I always give in my Essentials of Indiana gun law class, that you hear me pitch all the time here on the show, the example I always give is somebody's a prohibited possessor because they have a previous felony conviction, and they're standing on the side of the road dealing drugs, and their rival drug dealer decides they're gonna kill this person. Say you're the felon who's dealing drugs. You're a prohibited possessor. You have previous felony convictions. You cannot possess a gun. You're on the street corner dealing drugs, and your rival drug dealer decides they're going to murder you in a drive-by shooting. So you look up, you see a car rolling slowly past, all the windows towards you come down, you see two gun barrels come out of the window, and you realize you're about to be shot. You pull your gun that you're carrying illegally and shoot the bad guys who are about to kill you in a drive-by shooting. And I always ask the question in my class at that point, all right, are you going to jail? And I asked that question about 112 times throughout the course of that class because I'm testing what people have assimilated in terms of what's legal and what's not. Are you going to jail for murder because you shot the people who are rolling by because you've lost your ability to lawfully carry a firearm through that felony conviction? And usually it's about 50-50 people in the class. People say, well, yeah, you're going to jail because you can't possess a gun. Whether you're going to jail or not is too broad of a question. A more fair question is, are you going to jail for defending yourself? In other words, did you lose the ability to use force, including deadly force in self-defense because you're a prohibited possessor who can't possess a gun? The answer to that's no. You don't lose your ability to defend yourself. However, you lose your ability to possess a firearm, and you can be then prosecuted for possession of a firearm by a felon or unlawful carrying of a handgun, as I talked about in the first hour. And that's the distinction. I want to make sure people understand that about what this guy in Delaware County, sorry I screwed that up in the first hour, thanks to my buddy Jerry for correcting me. He's sort of my over-the-air conscience. He does that to me often. Hey, yo, bro, you just screwed this up, which is great because it allows me an opportunity to correct it. So anyway, I want to make sure I made that distinction. But as I say, we do have here in Indiana the necessity defense, which went over just before the break, which could very clearly apply in my mind. I'll tell you what, let's go to the phone lines. And I don't have names or topics or anything, but let's go to our first caller. What you got for us?
Is this Guy?
Yeah, it is, man. What you got for us? And what's your name? I'm sorry.
It's Marcus.
Okay, Marcus. What can I do for you, buddy?
Hey, I heard you earlier this week on Hammer and Nigel talking about buying guns from her friends.
Yeah.
And one of my questions is that I did buy one from a friend of mine, but what we did was we signed a contract with a witness. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, it was his gun, and you just bought it directly from him. You paid him some amount of money, and he said, hey, here's my gun.
Yeah, and we put his name on it and wrote on there that he so-and-so sold me his gun, and then this is our witness, and then we all three signed it and each kept a copy.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's more than adequate. In fact, that paperwork, Marcus, is not even legally required. It's cool. It's cool that you did that, and it's good that you have some evidence and that he has some evidence that the gun was transferred. For instance, if 5 years from now that gun is recovered at a crime scene, what happens is the cops will run a trace on that gun. What happens with a trace? A lot of people don't understand how this works. What happens is the police recover the gun, and they get the serial number and make and model off of it. They call the manufacturer. Let's say it's a Glock model 19 9mm. So the police call the manufacturer, Glock, and they say, hey, man, we recovered this Glock 19 at a crime scene with serial number blank. And the manufacturer, then Glock, says, well, we sold that to such and such gun shop, or we sold it to this distributor. So the police or the ATF then call the gun shop or that distributor, and they say, hey, Glock sold you this gun, Glock 19, on such and such a date, this serial number. What'd you do with it? And let's say it was sold directly to a gun shop, and the gun shop then says, well, I sold that to Guy Relford. And they have to maintain their forms. That's the Form 4473. That's the form you fill out in the gun store. They have to keep those in chronological order, in searchable format, which mainly for years, a lot of folks are starting to digitize this process. I think that's very smart to do, especially the high volume dealers. But a lot of time it's just the paper forms. They're more or less, they're supposed to be maintained chronologically. And so they have to go through, they're ruffling through these things looking for that gun. They find it and they go, aha, I sold that gun to so-and-so. Then it's gumshoe detective work from there. So let's say, Marcus, your friend gets a knock on the door and it's the cops, and they say, hey, we understand from so-and-so gun store that you bought a Glock 19 serial number or whatever, and that gun was recovered at a murder scene. Where were you that night? At which point your friend has a piece of paper that you executed with him that says, oh no, I sold this gun to Marcus. And I'm not suggesting for a minute that you'd use that gun in a criminal act, Marcus. That's not my point. My point is that your friend's going to be glad he had that piece of paper signed by you, witnessed by another person that says, I don't own that gun anymore. So it's smart to do what you did. What you can also do to transfer a gun, and as far as belt and suspenders, this may be even smarter, is go down to your local gun store, go to your FFL, ask them if they do transfers. And a lot of times, for years and years and years, the typical fee was like $25. And I think some stores have raised their prices. You may be able to find one that does it cheaper. But you go to a gun store and says, hey, do you do transfers? Yes, we do transfers. Great. We want to do a transfer. Guy wants to sell this gun to Marcus. Okay. What they actually do is they take that gun into their inventory. They put it in their what they call their A&D log, or acquisitions and distribution log. And they then have you fill out the paperwork in the gun store, the 4473 form, and they actually do a background check on you. And only after you pass the background check run by the FBI through NICS, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, do they then turn around and say, okay, now you can take that gun home. So technically your friend didn't even sell you that gun, the gun store did. So that's even more belt and suspenders. But what's the law on that? Listen, there's no formal registration requirement. There's no documentation requirement in the law for a private individual to sell a gun to another private individual. Is it smart to have the paperwork that you guys have? Yes. Is it smart, especially for someone you don't know, to go down to your local gun store and have them do the transfer where there's actually a background check? Hell yeah, that's smart. And I think it's responsible. What a lot of folks have done, and I haven't sold many guns in my lifetime just because I buy a gun, I tend to hold on to it. On the very rare occasion that I've sold a gun, I've asked for a person for their license to carry a handgun and their driver's license, and I made a copy and did a bill of sale, just like happened in your situation, Marcus. And it was funny because I was selling a rifle. It was a hunting rifle. And I'm not a big hunter. The gun was a gift, and it just wasn't a gun I was going to use. And so I decided to sell it to recover some money and use it for a different project, an SBR I was building. And so I sold it to a person, and I said, listen, I need to see your license to carry a handgun and your Indiana driver's license, and I want to make a copy. And I told him this, that it was going to be a condition of the sale. And he said, no problem. And while we're doing all this at my office, he said, by the way, I'm a little curious. You don't need a license for a rifle. Why are you demanding to see my license to carry a handgun? I said, well, because if you've been issued a license to carry a handgun by the Indiana State Police, you've passed the background check that the state police put you through. The driver's license you give me tells me, A, you're an Indiana resident, because it's illegal to transfer a gun to a citizen of another state, a resident of another state. And 2, your driver's license tells me that you're the same person whose name's on the license to carry a handgun, since our license to carry a handgun doesn't have picture on it. And so that was what I decided to do to make sure, without necessarily going down to the gun store and doing a transfer, that this was a person who it was appropriate to receive my rifle. Now, what's the law say? The law says you can't knowingly transfer a gun to someone who's ineligible to buy their own gun from a dealer. That's knowingly. Do you have to ask? Do you have to do a background check? Do you have to inquire? Do you have to investigate? No, that's not part of the legal requirement. You can't knowingly. So if your buddy comes over and goes, hey, man, I've had all these felony convictions. I can't buy a gun in the gun store. Do me a favor and sell me that Glock 19. You sell that person a gun. Okay, now you've committed a crime. And I'll tell you what, we're a little past the quarter hour. Let's take a break. We've got some more people on hold as I understand it. Producer Gavin's nodding yes. So let's take a break here. We'll come back. I'll go right back to the phone lines. Thanks to Marcus. That was a great question, and appreciate you calling in. We'll go back to the phone lines when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
New Year's resolutions come and go. Big Ten wins, you earn those.
Norton in the corner, bingo!
Big Ten basketball means tougher defenses, louder buildings, and zero margin for error. Coach Darren DeVries has the Hoosiers ready for the work.
Our mindset has to be, regardless of shots falling, our defense has to keep us in the game.
Up next, IU versus Washington, Sunday at 8. No fluff, no filler. Hoosier basketball on 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next, Essentials of Indiana Gun Law, where we talk about things like pointing a firearm, which we're going to talk about here on the show, about the Castle Doctrine, about transferring a firearm, in a lot more detail than we could get into here on the show. That and a whole lot of other topics for owning, carrying, using a gun in Indiana. Our next one's coming up Saturday, March 7th. We'd love to see you there. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. You can register right online. Go to tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Hi, I'm Dustin, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. I know finding a dream engagement ring can be overwhelming, but don't worry, we got you. As director of diamond sourcing, it's my job to make sure every single diamond at Shane Company is truly the best of the best. Our team travels the world to see diamonds up close, in person. We handpick each one for its unique fire, brilliance, and scintillation. Diamond buying is an art. Of course, we look at cut, color, clarity, and carat, known as the 4 C's, but that's not all. We also look at how each diamond looks on a hand, where it will be worn, how it makes you feel, and if it's worthy of a Shane Company customer. That type of expertise only comes from working for a company that's been a family business since 1929. We also think about your budget. We only pick the best in each grade in all shapes and sizes. Your diamond is guaranteed to be the most beautiful because a friend wants you to pick from only the best. Drop by your store or shaneco.com and see for yourself. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
At Audien Hearing, our mission is simple: to make better hearing affordable for everyone. We're proud to offer high-quality, rechargeable hearing aids starting at just $98. Clear, comfortable, and ready to use right out of the box. And here's a study worth hearing. Research shows that wearing hearing aids can reduce your risk of dementia by up to 61%. Join over 1 million happy customers and hear the difference today by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
KC and the Sunshine Band, live at Old National Center, January 23rd at 7:30 p.m. It's the ultimate throwback party. Get your tickets today at WIBC.com.
We put our lives on the line for our country. We braved the unknown. We did what we were told. And we lit up. Our cigarette packs were as valuable as the packs on our back. Maybe more. At one point, cigarettes were part of our daily ration. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. And boy, we were smoking 'em. Bumming a smoke was the norm. It was an escape from the reality of dirt, sweat, and forgetting how many days you were so far from home. Never had to worry so long as you had a light, and the smoking lamp was lit. If that was you then, get your lungs screened now. Surviving lung cancer starts with a scan. Learn more at screenyourlungs.org. And thank you for your service. This PSA was made possible by industry funding and guidance from lung cancer patient groups.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, y'all, I'm Blake Shelton. Being from Oklahoma, I know a thing or two about natural disasters. Tornadoes are common where I'm from and have affected my life and the lives of people I care about. No matter where you live, be aware of the dangers in your area and have a plan. You can create an emergency kit, come up with an evacuation plan, and know where to seek shelter. You never know when a disaster may hit. These simple steps can help save a life. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Look through your children's eyes, and you will discover the true magic of a forest. Find a forest near you and start exploring at discovertheforest.org.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today. No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Gun safety and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
With us. And I'll tell you what, let's go back to the phone lines and let's see here. I believe we've got Frank on the phone. Frank, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hello, Guy.
Hello, sir. Thanks for calling.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing better than the technical guys around here and producer Gavin. They've been sweating it throughout the evening trying to get all our glitches fixed. So I'm doing okay, man. But what you got for us tonight?
Anyway, later on this year, my wife and I are going to take a trip over east. And we're going to hit Philadelphia, Maine, probably Boston, Statue of Liberty. And hang on just a minute. Alexa, pause.
You're on the radio there, brother. You gotta hang with us here.
Yeah, no, I was pausing Alexa because I was listening to that, and
oh, I got you.
And anyway, of course, I carry guns and everything, like every good citizen ought to. But oh well. What kind of hell do I have to go through to make sure I don't get thrown in jail in one of those states?
Well, several of those states, New York, Massachusetts included, don't recognize the Indiana license to carry and are not constitutional carry states. So you just can't carry a gun there, period. So if you're ever traveling, you want to look that up. I keep an app on my cell phone. It's just called CCW. It's got like an outline of the United States with a gun overlaid over the top of it, and it gives you the law in each of the other states. The U.S. Concealed Carry Association, which I've been a member of since 2012, I have their carry insurance as well. They have a great, what's called a reciprocity map. And listen, just knowing that you're licensed to carry, if you have one of those in Indiana, is recognized in another state. And again, Massachusetts, you're talking about Boston and New York. No, and no. They do not recognize our license. And several other states out east do not as well. So you're looking at a felony if you carry a gun there. And even if your license is recognized in another state, or they are a constitutional carry state, that's only the first part of the equation, because you got to make sure you comply with all the other laws as well, like where you can and can't carry a gun. A lot of places have laws that we don't have in Indiana, like you can't carry a gun into a place that serves alcohol, or into a sports stadium, or any number of others. A lot of states have restrictions that we don't have, including some states that you would think of as being gun friendly, like Texas. Texas has a law about going into a bar, place that serves alcohol. So you have to research that as well. But I hate to give you bad news, Frank, but it is unlikely you could legally carry your gun on your trip out east. Let's go back to the phone lines, and we've got Bob Prices, I think, on the phone. Bob, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy. Quick question. I'll get off the air and listen to your answer.
Sure.
I just got my license to carry a couple of years ago. The other day when I was picking up a gun, I found out if it's less than 5 years old, they don't have to turn your Form 4473 to the FBI to rate for proceed. They do have to have you fill it out for their records.
Right.
That's correct, right? So my question is, can I get the date on my card changed? Can I get it extended? I mean, it'll end, I think I said 2 years, 3 years. It'll end in a couple of years, and I have to go back to sending it to the FBI and waiting around for that. Or can I get that changed?
Yep. No, it's a great question, Bob. And your question was something that we actually anticipated, because I was involved in this when we were in the process of passing an amendment to the licensing statute to where we changed, and goes back to 2019, if I remember correctly, where we changed the 4-year license to a 5-year license. And we did that anticipating, it took a number of years, but we did that anticipating that at some point the ATF would make our license to carry what's called NICS exempt. What's NICS exempt? It's exactly what Bob just described, which is you go into a gun store and you show them your license to carry, and they can take that, make a copy of it, and keep that with your 4473 form, and do that in lieu of, as a substitute for, a background check through the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. That's why we call it NICS exempt. And we made some other changes to the 5-year statute to make it NICS exempt eligible, but it's only the ATF that makes that decision. And not until last year, 2025, did ATF finally add Indiana to the NICS exempt list. So it's exactly what Bob described. You can go in and you can show them your license. Now, the license, exactly to Bob's point, has to have been issued within the last 5 years. And by the way, the gun store doesn't have to do this. If they don't want to do this, they want to put everybody through a background check through NICS, that's their prerogative. But if they choose to, the gun store can take your license in lieu of a NICS check. They just keep a copy of it. But again, the license has to have been issued within the last 5 years. The logic for that being that if you got your license 30 years ago, as opposed to 2 years ago, isn't it much more likely that something has happened in the meantime, like a felony conviction or an order of protection for domestic violence, that made you ineligible in the meantime, since you got your license? Now, if any of those things happen, the state police revoke your license, and they demand that you send it back to them, but people could potentially ignore the law in that regard. So the idea is it has to be a recently issued license, and the ATF settled on 5 years. But we anticipated Bob's question, because, okay, what if you got a lifetime license, which I assume Bob got, and his is good to be NICS exempt because he got it less than 5 years ago. But what if Bob wants to continue to be able to buy guns without a NICS check? Well, how does he go about doing that since he has a 5-year license? Well, that's written right into the statute. And I was in the room when we discussed this because I brought it up. I said, a lot of people who have lifetime licenses are going to want to avail themselves of this 5-year license issue so they can be NICS exempt when they buy guns. And the cure that we came up with was that you can simultaneously hold both a lifetime license and a 5-year license. In fact, Bob, since you got your license here recently, got electronically fingerprinted, I actually, if you contact me through the website, it's relfordlaw.com, I can actually send you the email where you can email the state police and say, I'm applying for my 5-year license. I already have a lifetime, and I would like for you to use the same fingerprints that you used for my lifetime license. They will do that. Complete your background check, which they renew when you're renewing your license for your 5-year, and mail you your license without even the need to get fingerprinted again. Like me, I got my lifetime license many, many, many years ago. So after we became NICS exempt this last summer, I think, I had to go get re-fingerprinted because I didn't have electronic prints. I had to go get ink prints rolled. But you can possess both a 5-year license and a lifetime license simultaneously. I do. I've got both of them in my wallet. In fact, I just, for the first time ever, went in my buddies. I ordered a lower receiver from BCM, from Bravo, and I was building a new SBR, and so I ordered a new lower, and since that's considered a firearm by the federal government, I had to go through a background check, or I had to fill out the 4473 more accurately. Showed my license to carry. See my buddies at Pinnacle Firearm. They're at 598 West Carmel Drive. They're my pals. I always want to pitch my friends there, and they accepted my license issued within the last 5 years in lieu of a background check, and I walked out with my lower receiver. So that's the answer, Bob, is that you can possess both a 5-year. So you're not renewing your old one, you're just applying for a new one. And when it gets to be, 4.5 years old, just apply for a new 5-year license, and you can do that in perpetuity. Here on the YouTube feed, I'm looking, my buddy Kelly and Avon said, yeah, the cool kids have both a lifetime and a 5-year license. Yeah, well, I'm a little old to call myself a cool kid, but hey, I definitely fall within that club. Now, I'll tell you what, we're past the bottom of the hour. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll shift gears. We'll talk about another case here in Indianapolis. It's got a lot of people fired up for why the gun owner is being charged with a crime, and a different circumstance, but one that a lot of people find questionable, as frankly I do as well. We'll talk about that and take your calls. Join the discussion, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Sold out. That's right. Hammer and Nigel Show charity bowling event. Red, white, and gold. Presented by Jack Daniels has sold out. So if you did not get tickets, we still have a chance for you to go. Go to the contest page at WIBC.com. Register to win 2 tickets to our charity bowling event Friday, January 16th at Woodland Bowl.
Hammer and Nigel. Weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Hi, I'm Tom Connors. Went to Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar February 6, 2019. Nothing worked before. Left there and never smoked again. Amazing. Easy, affordable, and guaranteed. A year later, with my wife Michelle, attended Mark Patrick's weight loss seminar. She lost 18 pounds and I lost 43 in 8 weeks.
It's true. He smoked 2 packs a day and nothing worked until Mark Patrick Hypnosis. Now we're losing weight together, eating healthy, full on half the food. Crazy. Enjoying exercising. Who would have believed Mark Patrick Hypnosis really works?
It's amazing. I can breathe again. My blood pressure went down and I've got so much energy.
So much energy.
And look great.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis. Only $59.99. Destroy unwanted cravings. January 29th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking at 8. Or January 31st, Holiday Inn Express Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m. Stop smoking at 2. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in tax debt? Do not ignore this message. The IRS has more power than any collection agency in America. Often without warning, they can garnish your wages, levy your bank account, place a lien on your home, seize assets like your business, and revoke your passport. Every year, thousands lose their paychecks overnight or have their assets seized because they waited too long. You don't have to face the IRS alone. Call Federated Tax today. We'll connect you with an experienced tax professional who will negotiate with the IRS on your behalf. You may qualify for IRS hardship programs like the Fresh Start Initiative or many other programs that can stop garnishments, stop bank account seizures, reduce or eliminate penalties, and lower your settlement amount. You deserve to maintain your life. Don't let the IRS take it over. Make the call today to Federated Tax, 370-1384. The call and consultation are absolutely free. 800-370-1384. 800-370-1384.
Fox News, I'm Sue Guzman. President Trump signing an executive order to block states from regulating artificial intelligence and create a single set of rules at the federal level.
We want to have one central source of approval, and we have, I think, great Republican support. I think we probably have Democrat support, too, because it's common sense.
He also wants to prevent AI from having a political bias. Treasury Department announcing new sanctions on allies. Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro. Fox's Peter Ducey.
New U.S. sanctions have been levied against 3 of Maduro's nephews, 2 of whom are convicted narco traffickers. As the White House ramps up pressure on Venezuela, the president also wants a piece of seized, sanctioned oil from the vessel taken by the Coast Guard this week.
White House says it'll follow a legal process to take possession of the tanker's oil. America's listening to Fox News.
The Attorney General's office wants to put your money back in your pocket. Visit indianaunclaimed.gov and search for yourself, your loved ones, or your business. It's fast, easy, and free.
We see it every day online, tragedy of some sort, and our kids see it too. This message is brought to you by the Indiana Youth Institute. Now more than ever, our youth need our support, even if they don't experience an event firsthand. Talking about what is going on can help them understand and feel safe. When talking to our youth about tragedy, use gentle words, offer comfort, and encourage them to share their worries. And remember, our youth could be experiencing fear, shock, anger, anxiety, and grief. These reactions are all normal, and their age will likely affect how they handle the stress. Be patient with support as your child grieves. However, if the child continues to display strong reaction for more than 2 to 4 weeks, they might need more help coping. This Kids Count Minute is a message from the Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, go to iyy.org/kids.
Kids count on you.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I am not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, YAP. I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So here's another case just unfolded. An arrest just made. And I actually just saw this news story dated today, where it said that just recently, it was toward the end of December, so it obviously took a while for prosecutors to decide to file these charges. Actually, this happened, according to the news report on Fox 59, happened on December 23rd. But apparently a customer in a restaurant, a barbecue restaurant located within what they call the Garage Food Hall. This is part of the Bottle Works district off of Mass Ave, downtown Indy here, that someone was in the garage food hall at the Pigpen barbecue restaurant, and a customer became very, very irate at an employee identified as Jacob Asbury. And the customer was upset because the restaurant wouldn't accept a coupon that the customer had. And the restaurant reported to the customer that they were having some technical issues, quote unquote, according again to the news article, and said, "We can't honor your coupon right now." And the customer got upset and became more and more irate and aggressive. At one point said, "You need to fix this right now." Well, okay, I've said something similar to businesses before. "You have caused me a problem. You need to fix this." But then it became somewhat threatening. That sounds violent to me. That sounds like a threat. But at that point, the restaurant employee pulled a loaded handgun out of a bag. I don't know whether it's a backpack or what that is. Just says out of a bag in the news report, and pointed it at the customer and said, "Just leave." Didn't say, "I'm going to shoot you." Didn't say anything else. Just said, "Just leave." At which point the customer called 911. So you have an aggressive customer, becomes threatening. And this is a key term right here. This is going to be what this case all boils down to. "I will snatch your ass right over this counter." Is that a threat of violence? And if it's a threat of violence, is that enough to justify pulling your gun and pointing your gun at someone? And listen, a really good mindset to have. I've been saying this for a long time. I say this, exactly this. And I've defended dozens of pointing a firearm cases. I'm defending 8 or 10 right now. It's a big part of what I do. I can tell you exactly how these cases go. And what I tell people in my Essentials of Indiana gun law class all the time is I say, listen, a gun is a tool of last resort. It's not a bluff. It's not to intimidate. It's not to win an argument. It's not to be a tough guy. It's a tool of last resort that you need to use to save your life. And if you don't intend on using it, don't pull it. And for God's sake, don't point it. And I think that's generally good advice. But that advice is pretty conservative compared to what the law says. The law on pointing a firearm says something a little different. That's what we'll go into when we come back. We're taking a break, and I'll talk about what the law, that's because that's what this employee at the Pigpen got charged with, felony pointing a firearm, level 6 felony. What is that crime? Again, we don't have brandishing in Indiana. We have intimidation with a deadly weapon. We have pointing a firearm. What's the law of pointing a firearm? Is this guy guilty of that crime or not? Again, many facts I'm sure will come out at trial that we don't have. And so we're just going to have a hypothetical discussion based on what we know and what the law says. But that's what we'll go into when we come back. And if we have time to take your calls as well. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tickets are on sale right now for Trump 1 year later. The highs, the lows, how we win the midterms. Happening at the Hyatt Regency, downtown Indianapolis. The bourbon will flow. The food will be fantastic. We're going to go over Trump's past year and how we use that to win the midterms. It's going to be informing, entertaining, and very, very funny. I promise. Join us, Trump 1 year later. Brought to you by Premier Arms, PA Jewelers, Defiance Beef, Chimney Solutions, and WIBC. Get your tickets at WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. We'd love to talk to you about potentially restoring your gun rights. If you have a conviction or something else in your legal record that's caused you to lose your gun rights, for a lot of folks, certainly not all, but for a lot of folks, we can restore your gun rights. If that applies to you, someone in your family, or a friend, family member, contact us through the website. It's relfordlaw.com. We'll talk about restoring your gun rights at relfordlaw.com.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Are you ready for retirement or just hoping for the best? At Wise Money Radio, we bring you the strategies, stories, and straight talk you need to make your money work smarter so you can live wiser. From taxes and healthcare costs to Social Security and income planning, we cut through the noise to give you the clarity you deserve. Listen to Wise Money Radio with Joe Wilson of Omega Wealth Private Capital, Saturday mornings at 5 right here on 93.1 WIBC.
It's not just adults who can feel stressed out. Our children feel stressed too. I'm Tammy Silverman of Indiana Youth Institute. Between school demands, maintaining friendships, and expectations from adults, it's no wonder that children sometimes feel stressed out. But unlike adults, experts say children may not be able to recognize stress or know how to cope. Luckily, you can help your child handle the challenges they're facing. Start by making yourself available to talk and be a good listener. Let your child express their views, and when you respond, focus on your child's feelings rather than your own. You can also ask your child what they need from you, whether it's advice or help solving a problem. But if stress is still overwhelming, experts recommend you reach out to a licensed mental health professional to make sure your child gets the support they need and deserve. This Kids Count Minute is a message from Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, visit IYI.org.
Kids count on you.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. We leave no warrior behind. Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war. Whether those scars are physical or mental, we're here to make sure that they heal. And whether it's helping those with post-traumatic stress disorder live a normal life again, or giving much-needed support to injured warriors in veterans' hospitals. Because no one deserves our help more than the men and women who risk their lives to keep us safe. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Experience Trump 1 year later with Tony Katz on January 24th at 6 p.m. Enjoy thought-provoking discussion, tasty hors d'oeuvres, and a chance to mingle with others. Thanks to our sponsor, PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse. More info at WIBC.com.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back to the last segment of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. So you've got an employee after an irate customer says, "I'm going to snatch your ass over the counter," pulls his gun and points it at the customer. Employee gets charged with a felony, pointing a firearm. Well, what's the pointing a firearm statute in Indiana say? It's interesting because it starts out with a couple of exceptions. And it starts off saying, well, first of all, this section doesn't apply to a law enforcement officer who's acting within the scope of his official duties. Okay. Then goes on to say it doesn't apply to someone who's justified in using reasonable force against another person under either, and then it gives two statute numbers. One is 35-41-3-2. What's that? That's the general self-defense statute. So if you're justified in using reasonable force under the self-defense statute, then you're not guilty of the crime of pointing a firearm. That's what this whole case at the pig pen there off Mass Ave is going to come down to. The other one, by the way, is if you're justified in using reasonable force to effect a citizen's arrest. I could do a whole show on citizen's arrest, and that doesn't apply to our barbecue restaurant situation, so I'm not going to talk about that one. But when are you justified using reasonable force against another person? Well, when you believe that you're preventing the imminent use of unlawful force against you or a third person. If someone says, "I'm going to snatch you over that counter," do you have a reasonable belief at that point that you're preventing the use of unlawful force, the imminent use of unlawful force against you? That's what that barbecue restaurant case is going to come down to. I'll guarantee you the reason that happened on December 23rd and the employee wasn't charged, apparently, from the news article anyway, for several days. After that, that's what the prosecutor's office was having to chew over. That's exactly what this gentleman's defense lawyer is going to want to talk a lot about. Now, we do have one silly case in the context of defending property, because the self-defense statute says you cannot defend your, I'm not talking about your home, I'm talking about your personal property, your stuff, right? Your wallet, your car, your watch, your rings, your stuff. The self-defense statute says you can never use deadly force to protect your stuff, your property, your personal property, not your home. Take that part out of your mind for a moment. You can only use reasonable force. And we have one case that says that the pointing of a firearm is not reasonable force in defending one's property. Well, the prosecutor's probably going to ask for a jury instruction in this barbecue restaurant case to say pointing a firearm is not reasonable force in the context of preventing the imminent use of unlawful force against you as well. The case I'm talking about only applies to personal property, but by extension, I can see the prosecutor making that same argument. But that's what we're down to. That's what is going to happen in this case. Was the person justified in using reasonable force to prevent the imminent use of unlawful force against him? I'm going to snatch your ass across that counter. Could a jury decide, yes, you're absolutely preventing the unlawful use of force against yourself? Could that then justify that and accept that out of the pointing a firearm statute? Yes, it certainly could. And I'll tell you what, we've got less than a minute. No, we've got a little less than 2 minutes. I believe we have one more caller on the phone line. Let's quickly go to the phone lines and bring in, is it David? David, welcome to the Gun Guy Show, man.
Hello.
David, you there, bud? You need to turn your radio or your TV down.
I turned it off.
Okay, what you got?
Well, I got a muzzle loader that I've had for 20 years or so, like that. And a buddy of mine gave me some firewood and about a rick of firewood and stuff like that. And I thought I'd reciprocate by giving him a muzzle loader, 50 caliber muzzle loader. But I didn't know what kind of if or anything hoops I had to jump through to do that.
No, we actually talked about this issue earlier in the show, David. And as long as, and there are actually some exceptions to this for some muzzle loaders, but let's just assume that qualifies as a firearm. As long as you don't have any reason to believe that person you're giving the gun to is prohibited from buying his own gun. In other words, he's not a felon, he's not a domestic abuser or anybody like that. Unless you know that he's prohibited from buying his own gun, you can give a gun as a gift in Indiana, and that's totally and completely legal. Does that answer your question? Absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Hey, thanks for calling. That's going to bring us to the end of the show. Thanks so much to our callers. Thanks to our tech guys, including producer Gavin, for fighting through the technical issues. I think we made it through relatively unscathed. Thanks so much for listening to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. Remember, always shoot straight, always be safe.
If you or anyone you care about is facing a family legal matter, call Cordell & Cordell today at 1-855-GET-LEGAL or visit CordellCordell.com to schedule your consultation.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country. With over 35 years of helping